Hello and welcome everybody to the WooPlayer Q&A weekly webinar call. We're going to get started here in just a minute, but before we do, we would appreciate you confirming that you can both hear my voice as well as see my screen, which should say WooPlayer Q&A on it. I'm working partially remotely today, so apologies for being on one screen and if maybe my audio sounds a bit weird, but I'm sure we'll get through it. So if you can just confirm that audio and video are okay, then we can get started. Thank you. All right, we're getting some confirmations that video and audio are good. Hello to Chris, Shay, Dave, Dean, Lewis, which is asking if I'm in an echo chamber today. No, I had to borrow a pair of headsets from or headphones rather, from my wife. So that's probably why I'm sounding a bit weird. I haven't tested this mic on the computer just yet. So hopefully that's gonna work fine and not present that big of a problem. Hello, William, as well. Alrighty, so welcome again to the WooPlayer Q&A webinar weekly call. My name is Peter. I am WooPlayer's product manager, and we're holding these weekly calls in order to answer any questions which you as users may have, also to provide any training on advanced features, gather feedback on how we can improve WooPlayer, and also to showcase any new stuff that we've been working on. The format of the webinar is pretty straightforward. At any time that you have a question, feel free to drop it in this nice little chat box over here, and we'll start answering them in the order that they come in. If you came prepared with any questions, now would be a good time to drop them in there so that we can answer them first. I'm on a slightly shortened schedule today, so we might cut it a little bit short if there's not too many questions here today. All right, what else did I want to mention? Of course, webinar replays are available both on our YouTube channel as well as on our WooPlayer Facebook group. So if you're unable to attend any of the webinars, you can find all of the replays there. And also you can ask any questions regarding something that you would like to see explained in the funnel, in the webinar in detail throughout support channels if you're not able to attend the webinar. Alrighty, I think that's all of the housekeeping notes. I see some new faces are popping in, so I just want to welcome everybody. We're having, as you might imagine, quite a bit of influx of new users since we're running an active promotion, which you might be aware of. So WooPlayer is currently, that's what happens when you have too many domains that start with app. So WooPlayer is currently being featured on AppSumo. The Pro license is. So as many of you might know, AppSumo is a pretty huge deal, and it has a lot of users, or rather it has a really large community of users, which we are really welcoming into the application and hoping that they're going to be able to leverage WooPlayer to its full extent. So the review is thus far doing great, even though we only had the soft launch thus far, but we're having hundreds and hundreds of new people every day. Well, for the last 2 days at least, since the promotion has been running. So it's thus far it's turning out to be a success. We're realigning some expectations in the promotion here soon. So hopefully it's going to be a major success. So that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up in case that anybody is still kind of on the fence about if WooPlayer is a good deal or not, or if you should utilize it or not. Do check out the AppSumo promotion. It's a great listing, and it has a lot of interesting side notes on how to utilize WooPlayer. So that's that with regards to the AppSumo deal. Did I want to maybe touch base on something else? Oh yeah, definitely. So I mentioned that a pretty big change is coming, and I wanted to share this with you guys first. I'm just not sure if I am a pro or an enterprise user. Actually, I think I have release taxdesk.com. Let me just check this account to see if this is an enterprise account. This is a demo enterprise account. I think that might work actually. So just give me a second. Taxdesk.com. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like so. Alrighty. So for all of our enterprise users, one thing that we wanted to highlight is that now and mostly get away from me LastPass, and mostly thanks to the AppSumo promotion, we are offering a second tier of enterprise, which is now considered as Enterprise Lite. It has all of the features that regular enterprise has at a lower cost and of course at lower storage and bandwidth consumption. So why we decided to do this is in order to for those people who are heavily utilizing hybrid hosting, meaning hosting videos on YouTube and Dropbox, etc., and basically just need the enterprise for the powerful marketing, analytics, reporting, automation, segmentation, etc. features, interactive features, etc. that enterprise is offering, branching features, etc. But don't need that much storage and bandwidth. We figured out it doesn't make so much sense for us to charge you for the full consumptions, which you're not going to be leveraging either way if you're hosting your videos on Amazon, for example, which is why we started downgrading this Enterprise Lite in hopes of providing more value at a lower cost and also retaining you as users for a longer time. So if you're currently on an enterprise plan and are paying, I don't know, $27, $37, $47 a month, I should actually switch this to monthly charge. So this is $27 a month, or if you're paying yearly, it's $16 a month, or rather $197 per year. So that's $197 per year, that plan. And as I mentioned, the only difference between that and the, let's call it actual enterprise, is that it has 30 gigabytes of storage instead of 50 and 150 gigabytes of turbo bandwidth instead of 200. So if you feel that you would be, if your money's worth is better allocated on the Enterprise Lite plan, we encourage you to downgrade and give us less money or save more money on your end, however you want to frame it. So that's the thing that I was talking to you about, and we're really excited to see how this is going to play out. We expect a lot of questions, and that's completely normal, and we expect a lot of blowback, feedback. So don't spare us; just give us your hardest questions, and that's all a learning opportunity for us in order so that we can adapt these plans and make them perfect for you. Also, as part of this promotion, one more thing that's rolling out is the ability to tailor up a custom plan. However, this is intended for larger consumption needs. So if you're really running into cost barriers for significantly higher consumption than the enterprise offers, definitely do get in touch with us so that we can tailor up a custom plan, a custom-based pricing plan for your business. So those are some of the updates that I wanted to touch base on, and I expect there's going to be a lot of questions with regards to this. So let's start getting to them. So first question from Shade: can you demonstrate how to use a Facebook video in VooPlayer? Sure. Let me see if this account already has one. Maybe. Where did my account go? Is this one? Yeah, this one. Let me just see. So here I have a Facebook video. Let me just grab its URL real quick. Let me minimize this. It's going to be a bother. So let me just get the source URL of that. So this is the source URL of it. So this is a Facebook video. I hope it is. It is. Yep. So here we have this video. So what you can do is right click on any video, click over here on where it says show the URL, and you can copy and paste that value. Come back over here to the application. You can click on create a new video. We're not too worried about losing those changes. Paste that URL, click on validate it. So that's now imported inside of WooPlayer. You can name it Facebook webinar video, and you can save and continue with creating it. That way you've created a Facebook video. It's pretty straightforward, so I don't know necessarily if there was something that was throwing you a curveball with a particular video, or something that you wanted to dive into a little bit deeper. So if you can elaborate on your question a little bit, we can get into more detail. So Lewis is saying at the moment, product board only allows us to submit ideas or vote on how important it is with 3 voting options. I would find it much more interesting if we could not only comment, but see other users' comments too on the ideas, as it could even lead to developing an idea further. Many times this type of communication has worked well during these Q&A sessions, so why not on the board too? So that's an excellent question, Lewis. So let me just bring it up. So we have a reference point to what Lewis is talking about. So inside of the application, as you know, we value you guys' opinion a lot, and that's why a lot of stuff that we do is really customer focused and customer driven. And with that in mind, we have the product board on which you can vote on ideas and submit ideas, and generally let us know how we can improve WooPlayer, as well as sort of have an insight on sort of what the roadmap is with regards to what we're planning to do, what's currently under consideration, and what we've recently launched. So Lewis's point is that I, as a user, if I come over here to personalized data and videos, I can only see that 16 people have voted on it, but I can't necessarily see their individual comments. And that was my question to the product board team, the team behind this portal. And their answer made sense to me in that, one, not everybody wants to have their feedback visible, in that a lot of people want to preserve their anonymity against other users when sharing their private use cases. So that's one thing. And the second thing is that having the feedbacks visible to everybody would lead to endless discussions, which on one thing could be a good thing, but on another thing, it could be very counterproductive, as it could branch off into things which are not related to a particular topic or card that we're working on. So I think having the feedback anonymized for the end user is the right call from the product board team, and I can see why they are doing that. I mentioned this last week, as there was a glitch. Talk to me, I think it's fixed now. So I go from a 47 plan to a 16 per month plan for my full enterprise. No. Good question, Alan, and thank you for bringing that up. So for the full enterprise, you are staying on your current pricing. So you could only downgrade to the enterprise light. And let me, this custom site is throwing me off. I'm used to seeing a WooPlayer favicon up there. So let me bring that up again. So if I go to billing, so this account is on full enterprise, and you can't downgrade your full enterprise currently. What you can do is downgrade to a enterprise light. So you can keep all of the features, as I mentioned, you keep priority support, you keep unlimited regular bandwidth and all of that. However, your storage goes down to 30 from 50, and your bandwidth goes down to 200. It goes down to 150 from 200. And I said I made a mistake. 16 per month is on when it's charged yearly, whereas if you want to continue your subscription on a monthly basis, that's $27 a month. Whereas if you pay $197 per year, that's $16 per month. Calculated out, prorated, however you want. Lewis is saying the dog one wasn't the one I used as an example. All right. If you have another video, we can take a look at it. Dave, any ETA on multiple cloning? We're definitely started looking at it, so it seems like it's going to be very feasible. What Dave is referring to is an option to select multiple videos from the dashboard and clone them, have multiple videos cloned at a time by applying similar player settings to them. So that's one thing that we've investigated slightly, but to be quite frank with you, the promotion and the feedback that's rolling in from it currently is really kind of sweating us. So I would say do not expect that in the next couple of weeks, at least, since we're really swamped. Sorry about that. Shade is also saying Blue Player wasn't accepting the Facebook URL as valid, but it seems to be working now. I don't know, it might have been a temporary issue of some sort. If you're able to replicate it and you can send us that Facebook URL, which is not working, we'll more than gladly troubleshoot that. Lewis is saying, I have submitted an idea on the board a few weeks ago, but have not seen it appear on the board since. I assume from this that you guys decide among yourself that it was either impractical or would not get much support, but you don't know unless it's visible, and others could comment too for possible development, give the user the option to have their comment private. Yeah, makes sense. So basically how we roll with this is, unless we have at least feedback from a couple of different users, we don't post stuff on the ideas board. So we need, and this is mostly why we have this webinar, is really to kind of bounce those things off of users and to discuss them. So if somebody brings up an interesting idea, people usually get on board and we can sort of start that conversation going, and that kind of immediately validates, hey, that's an interesting idea that we should discuss and have other people's comment on it too. And then we can develop some sort of a proof of concept for that feature. And then we can demonstrate it, get feedback on it, and then we can improve it. However, we're still kind of small enough to not necessarily have single user feedback be a validation point for us. So, and there's so much of that, and it's really hard to distinguish between what's a valuable thing for one person and what's a valuable thing for another person. So the way that we are, or I should say the way that I am at least evaluating these ideas currently, is that I usually wait to get the same or very similar idea from two independent sources before considering it somewhat valid for it to be elevated further. Lewis, I must also add to this, as I mentioned, we've been really swamped with this promotion. So unfortunately, and please accept my apologies for that, I wasn't able to go through the back end, the admin side of the product board for at least a few days. So I don't necessarily know what's currently in there. I need to dedicate some time to this once we kind of dive in from the initial feedback from the AppStreamer promotion, and then we can then I'll start sorting out through all of the feedback gathered in the meantime. All right, let's see. William is saying, was on a call. Can you please repeat the personalization update? Peter, there wasn't a personalization update. So just with regards to the personalization, as far as the estimate for that, so that continues to be the number one voted feature for that. And more or less, we're kind of willing to commit on having something developed by the end of 2018. I wasn't pulling it up because I had an update for that. I was just pulling it up because Lewis had a question regarding the ideas product board. So that's the only reason why I was pulling it up. Lewis is also saying, this could be a dumb question, but how does the WordPress plugin work with Macs? As it's a zip file. I don't really use WordPress, so WordPress.com and WordPress.org completely separate. The one I have, you have to upgrade to a business plan to install plugins. Yeah, so our plugin is intended for WordPress.org, which basically is a WordPress installation on your self-hosted environment. So WordPress.com is your site hosted on WordPress's servers and environment. So basically, all that we're kind of supporting and know is working is based on the WordPress.org websites, which I don't think I'm gonna overestimate this at all when I say are occupying about 99.99999% of that ecosystem. So the WordPress.com sites are the free sites, which are usually heavily limited unless you pay for the higher tier plans, and even then you have some limitations. But it really makes no sense for anybody unless you are a mega conglomerate, intercorporate, multinational company that I know uses those plans. So I don't necessarily think that anybody is or will be using the WordPress plugin on the WordPress.com sites. But as far as, just to illustrate this, the installation enterprises, if I'm logged in, this is our just our testing, and if I have the password, no, give me 1 second. So this is a WordPress.org site, which we're hosting on our test environment on IMW Enterprises. So this is how the WordPress org admin looks like. So basically, how you install plugins from here is you just come over here and to plugins, and the Wool Player plugin is, let me just see if I can find it here. So you can just come over here to add new and search for plugins, and we'll find Wool Player. And there it is. So basically, you don't need the zip file or anything to install it. You can install it directly from the WordPress repository. So hopefully that answers that question. Lewis is saying, I have had a 5,000 watch data not available message appear 2 or 3 times on different videos in a past week. Woo, that's a woozy. Have you contacted support with that? And also, I'm really curious about what kind of videos were that. There was a small, well, I don't know how big of an issue it was, which was related to YouTube videos. There was a small hiccup we ran into with some of the updates in the YouTube's API and how those videos were loaded. We're able to resolve that quite quickly, but I'm curious if those videos that you had an issue were YouTube videos. Sometimes, and in this ecosystem of hybrid hosting, our team constantly has to monitor a bunch of different APIs, Facebook's API, YouTube's API, Dropbox's API, Vimeo's API, et cetera, to continually monitor for any changes. And sometimes there's going to be a change which wasn't necessarily publicized all that much, and then we're going to lose video until we adapt to that provider's hosting. But we really do our best to stay updated with all of those solutions. Even Louis is saying, yes, they were YouTube. So if they were YouTube, if you haven't contacted support, please do, because it was a really specific issue for really specific YouTube videos. So I would really appreciate to kind of confirm and validate that issue, and that we were able to resolve it. So please just contact support and say, Peter told me to tell you that these videos were receiving 500 error and they're YouTube videos, and here are the links to those videos, and they'll redirect it to me, and I'll know what's happening, and I just want to confirm that was the issue. All right, in my ear, I'm getting a lot of pings and dings from the other support channels from the promotion. So as I said, I'm really sorry for having to cut this a little bit short. Hopefully I was able to answer some questions. I want to thank you everybody for asking the questions. I want to welcome everybody who's joined for the first time. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Again, apologies for kind of speeding this up. We're in this AppSumo promotion, which is a doozy. So again, and also apologies for being on a single monitor and you having to see all of these cascading windows, and for having to use my wife's headset and sounding like I'm in an echo chamber. Hopefully that's all going to be much better next week. So thanks again for joining, and we'll see you next week.